Yo, what is going on, guys? Episode 83 of Many here. My name is Colton Burt. I am your host. If this is your first time tuning in, I am 27 years old. We own Grizzly Fitness. We are at 7 locations currently because we just opened our newest location in Baraboo. We are looking to expand as well, do more awesome, fun, small town, community-style fitness centers with badass gym equipment. If this is your first time listening, Grizzly Fitness is all about, again, small towns, but really cool equipment. Really hard to find equipment, and basically gyms that are too large for the small town they're in. What I mean by that is, towns of a couple thousand people and as big of a property as we can find, we like to put the gym in it. So our Watoma property, our Berlin property, they're both over 10,000 square feet. If we could do that in every small town, we would. It just depends on the real estate we find. We do own a lot of the real estate that we are in. So our Watoma building, our Berlin building, our Princeton building, we own those properties. We also own a couple other properties outside of that, so we are involved in real estate. And then, again, if this is your first time listening, we also own a fitness equipment install, repair, moving company. That company is called Priority Fitness, which, if this is your first time listening, we just launched our Facebook and Instagram page for Priority Fitness, so we are putting up some really cool content on there. It's just Priority Fitness, WI, on Instagram and Facebook. Priority Fitness specializes in installing gym equipment all across the state, kind of the Midwest. I don't want to say we travel like all of these states, but we'll travel the Midwest if it makes sense pay-wise, but primarily Wisconsin, the entire state. We do apartment complexes. We do full commercial gyms, like the YMCAs, Anytime Fitnesses. We do college campuses, right? So anything that's got gym equipment, if we get contracted out, we will do it. So I encourage you, if you are listening, to follow those pages, give us some likes, give us some comments. We are going to be doing some cooler content on there as well, like time-lapse style videos. So again, you can just watch us like moving ants, install a bunch of gym equipment, and work real hard. So that is the company that has helped found all of, that is the base company that has helped us build all these other businesses. So we kind of fell into Priority Fitness at a young age. I'm not going to tell you the entire story, but we fell into Priority Fitness at a young age. It worked out really well. It allowed us to invest in some gym equipment, which then allowed us to invest in making some cool gyms, and then again kept snowballing. And now 7-8 years later, we now have 7 gym locations, a very solid Priority Fitness crew, at least 5 pieces of real estate, and growing. So, and on top of that, we do have, between all of our gyms and Priority Fitness, around, 50-ish employees, I would say. So anyways, a lot of stuff going on. If this is your first time tuning in, I appreciate having you. If this is not your first time tuning in and you've been listening to a bunch of these episodes and you haven't been sharing them with your friends, family, anybody who you think might find some value from this, please do share these. It helps us get the message out, helps us get the word out, helps us find new listeners, helps us get into like new pockets of people. We do want to expand and grow the show and bring more people on. So anyways, enough with that. I do have a couple cool little things I want to talk to you guys about today. So first, I want to start off with a story. I don't think I told you guys about this, but right before, and it's probably because I've been working through it, but right the day before Thanksgiving, so Wednesday, we, for Priority Fitness, our company that I was just bragging to you guys about, it was a very windy day on Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving here, and black ice and that kind of stuff. So Priority Fitness was hauling our new trailer. We just bought a brand new 7x12 enclosed trailer in October, I think end of October, like October 20th or 30th or somewhere in there. And it's this perfect, nice little trailer, all black, really cute, whatever. Did what we needed to do, and it was just for our smaller installs. Well, the guys were heading up north to do a little install. I didn't realize how bad the weather was, but I don't really determine that stuff anymore. Kyle is our main guy who runs Priority Fitness at this point with Nolan. And I don't think any of us really realized that the roads were potentially as bad as they were. Anyways, the guys snipped some black ice. Truck and trailer ended up going in the ditch. The guys are okay. That is the most important thing. But truck and trailer ended up going in the ditch. Had the customer's brand new product in there that was already paid for. Had, obviously, then our older 7.3, 2003 F350, and our brand new trailer. Long story short, I've been dealing with the insurance on this. That's what I do. I do the office stuff that not everybody likes to do, but I was dealing with the insurance on this. So some of my wins to share with you are that we got the equipment inside of the trailer. All of that got insured out. So we already got paid out on that. because then what happened is we had to go back to the manufacturer, rebuy the equipment, and now we have to go back and reinstall the equipment to the customer since it never made there in the first place. So that's a win. Insurance didn't fuck around too much. They paid out extremely quick. Money hit the account. We're 2 weeks, a week and a half removed from that date, and this has already been paid out since like middle of last week. So huge win. Didn't have to do, I don't know if you guys have had to deal with insurance on your own personal vehicles and that, but you never know what you're going to walk into. If you say the wrong thing, you get backed into the corner, this or that, it's like I feel like insurance companies try to figure out one way or another to not pay you out or, not pay out the full amount. But in this case, it worked out well for us. So we are still in the process of getting the truck and the trailer insurance pushed through. The trailer is approved. We just have to decide if we want to buy the trailer back and try to repair it ourselves, or if we just want to deem it totaled and salvaged and, we don't want to deal with it at all. So we're probably leaning more towards that. They gave us a fair amount to just total it out after our deductible and stuff. So probably just going to lean that route on the trailer. And then the truck is still going through processing. But what sucks about the truck is it is a 2003. It's an old diesel. For those of you who know diesel trucks, it's the Ford Power Stroke 7.3. If you don't know diesel trucks, that's just anybody in the diesel, any of the dudes that love diesel trucks can say that the 7.3 is a solid motor, reliable, and the value that the insurance company is going to find on it versus like the value it actually is going to be quite a bit different, I have a feeling. And I just feel like we're going to get boned on the true value there and the replacement cost, right? I think there's going to be a big variable there. So they are working through the process of figuring out the true cost of it. They have to do their analysis and all that. We sent them an estimate in to get the repairs done that we needed. And what sucked on the truck was like, there's a bunch of little things that added up to a lot. So like the brand new truck bed we just put on last year, and I say brand new, but it's rust free, right? And we undercoated it and made sure the truck bed was rust free and clean. And the truck bed had like a fist-sized dent in the top corner, the rear top corner. So like where your tailgate folds up, there's like the tail lights, right outside the tailgate, and then there's like cab corner, like a truck bed corner right above those tail lights on this older truck. There's like a perfect dent on that corner there that is not going to be able to be popped out, and it's just like in that shitty spot where there's not a whole lot you can do. And then the bumper, this and the tail light, so all these little things that added up to a decent amount of damage. And unfortunately, they're probably going to total out the truck as well. And I don't know. I'm just telling you guys a story. I was dealing with this the day before Thanksgiving. Everybody's like excited for Thanksgiving, seeing their family and doing all this. And then as a business owner, like there's these things that pop up in life. And even as an individual, there's things that pop up that you weren't expecting at unexpected times. And I think it's important to, one, in this case, it was very important that my guys were okay, right? Like that was the most important thing. Is everybody okay and safe and feeling okay? Okay, good. Now let's figure out the right steps from there. So again, a lot of the conversation today that I want to have is like emotion over logic. I was a little bit nervous at first when I got a call and text from Kyle because I didn't have a whole lot of information. And so there's like a waiting game there for me as a friend, as a business owner, as like a, as that person. It was just, there was some stress there, right? And you try not to get too emotional. You try not to get overwhelmed about it. I can tell you personally, I wasn't in a fantastic mood when I was helping him get the information he needed because I was actually concerned that we were getting pulled over by a police officer or something because he needed some information for a police officer. So I didn't know that there had been an accident, and we've had some bad experiences in the past with like DOT law and stuff like that just because at a young age you don't learn about this stuff until you unfortunately maybe break the law. I didn't know, again, driving a truck and trailer and DOT law. Like, there's a lot of stuff you don't know until you know. So, anyways, they're okay. I want you to realize that there are going to be these things that pop up at the not ideal times. Again, it's Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving. You've got Thursday off, Friday off. It's going to be a great long weekend with maybe friends and family. For me, I was going to eat some carbohydrates, right? I was going to have a little cheat meal. I was going to do my 5-mile run, and I did all those things, but there are some things that can push you back, and it's important to not let those screw up your entire day. It's important not to let those things eat at you too much. There's only so much you can do, and I have very close friends, coworkers, family, that when these little things do hit, they set you back, and it's important to not let that happen. I mean, it's human. We are emotional, but I have the mindset, and I've told you guys here on the podcast, that it could always be worse. There's always a worse situation to be in, and we should be grateful and happy that the situation that we've been put in is only as bad as it is, right? So, for instance, the truck and trailer situation could have been much worse, and I'm grateful that it turned out the way it did. And obviously now I'm grateful with the insurance working the way it is so far. So again, it could always be worse. The insurance could have, done this or that. They could have found some stupid thing to not pay us out. There could have been injuries in the accident. There could have been other people involved in the accident, right? So again, there's things to be grateful for. So just realize in these situations when they do pop up, is it the worst possible thing that could have ever happened in your life? Probably not. Let's look at the bright side. Let's keep pushing forward. Let's keep our head up, and let's just figure out, again, think logically, what is next? Do I have to take it, maybe I have to take a deep breath and take a walk around the park or whatever it is and reset myself a little bit, but it's important to think, again, logically, not emotionally. Take that out as much as you can. Take that emotion out of the equation as much as possible. I think that's what sets a lot of people apart, and again, that's kind of where I want to get to today. So we'll move on. I don't think I told you guys that story, so I wanted to give you guys an update on that because it was actually something major that happened in our company, and you didn't even hear me talk about it because I probably did what I had to do and I continued moving on, right? I didn't dwell in it, and that's just not the kind of individual or leader that I am. So I don't know if I mentioned this the other day, but I've got a couple little notes here before we get back to my main topic, which is the emotion and logic part. I have got one other win that I want to share with you guys real quick, and then I'll get into this. So, side note, I had to sit on hold today with IRS for 2 hours. It was actually an hour and a half, and then I had to speak with them for another 20 minutes, so an hour and 49 minutes ended up being. Long story short, it's a big W for us because O-Town Iron and Grizzly Fitness, we did a little partnership last year. That's my business partner, Jacob Colburn, up at our Oshkosh facility, is now called Grizzly O-Town. And I've never done a partnership before on the books or anything like that. So for those of you who don't know, when you have a business that you own, you have certain dates that you have to file your taxes, just like the general individual, the general employee. You have, March, April 15th and whatever. If you file an extension, it's that date. Well, when you have a partnership and you do K1s and that stuff, we don't have to get in the nitty gritty. The partnership is actually a month ahead of time that you have to file your taxes. So I didn't know that, and I didn't know my accountants didn't know, if that makes sense, if you're following me. I didn't know. I had poor communication with my accountant that we created this partnership and that it was a go, because when they filed my extensions for all of my other businesses, they did not file my extensions for O-Town, Grizzly O-Town, and I wasn't aware of that. So when it became time for our taxes to be due at the end of the extension in the fall, they never filed an extension for Grizzly O-Town. So now we were facing all these fines and penalties for Grizzly O-Town. It ended up being right around $3,000, which isn't a easy fine. You don't want to pay $3,000 when you don't have to. And so long story short, the accountant sent an appeal to say, hey, it was their first time filing. They didn't know how this worked. Well, the government was closed for how long? So they never got the appeal. We got the automated generated fucking email. We got the I don't know why I can't speak. We got the automated response from the IRS that was just hey, you still owe us money, and actually you owe us more interest now since the government was closed. So I actually called in today because, of course, the accountant said they could call in, but then they have to charge us while they're on hold the entire time, and they don't know if they want us to do that. So I called into the IRS, sat on hold for a very long time, and got a hold of this lady. She helped us out. She did not have any record of the appeal yet because, again, of the government shutdown. There will be delays. And she actually filed an appeal for me while we were on the phone and got it all taken care of and got all of the penalties waived. So big W today. Got the $3,000 penalty waived. And I just wanted you guys to know that, too. As a business owner, there are these things that pop up and you have to deal with them. And it's not always sunshine and rainbows when it comes to owning a business. There are things that are difficult. So if you are working with somebody else, working for somebody else, I do encourage you to go down that path if you want to start your own thing. But there are things like this that you have to deal with, and they're not always the most fun. So, anyways, moving on to some of these notes that I have, and then we're going to get back to our end here. So, net positive days. I can't remember if I brought this up last episode or not, but I just wanted to bring this up if I did. Net positive days. So what this is saying is, at the end of the day, let's say you've had a bad day or something happened towards the end of the day and it kind of brought you down, or let's just say you had a day in the office all day and you need to end, whatever it is, you might have had a negative day to this point, and it's more important to go to bed in the net positive. So this might mean staying up a little bit later than usual to push yourself to go get those steps in, to get that run in, to get that workout in, to eat the healthy dinner, whatever it means to you to have a net positive day. So just know that it doesn't pay to go to bed upset or angry. I do say the term sleep on it a lot. That's before you make an emotional decision, right? I don't want you to make an emotional decision. I want you to sleep on the idea and wake up and then have a logical idea, a logical decision. But if it gets to the end of the day, you haven't gotten done what needs to be done, work-wise, physically, again, in the kitchen, whatever it is, it's important to make that day net positive, right? Finish in the green. Don't go to bed in the red. The more net positive days we have, again, it's that compound effect. We continue building on that. We continue growing on that. That's how we win the week. We win the month. We win the year. We win the life, right? So net positive days. Make sure at the end of the day, when you go to bed, you can say you won the day no matter what it was. And so that leads me into my next point. One happy day at a time. I watched this really cool video. It was actually like with Joe Rogan, I believe. It was just a little clip, just a little like 30-second style clip. I'll have to watch it again and maybe even, show you. Maybe I'll write it down and give you guys the exact quote here. But basically what the guy was saying was one happy day at a time. You only have today. You only live today. You're no longer, yesterday is dead and tomorrow never comes. You're only living today. And so making sure today was a happy day is all that you can do. You're never going to be able to, again, yesterday is dead. The past is dead. Anything that you've made decisions-wise in the past is no longer you. That's just, it's dead, it's gone, it's history. And today's the only day that you're actually alive, right? So living today and making sure today was a happy day and not planning too far in the future in a sense. I can't wait for tomorrow. I can't wait for next week. I'm going to be so happy next month. I'm going to do this next year. Yes, it's good to have plans. I coach you guys on having plans and pre-planning your vacations and your time to yourself. But you only have today, and it's important to make sure that today was a happy day. Today was a good day. Today was a net positive day. Today, I finished strong. Today, I did everything that I could to be the best version of myself. Today, I lived. I did what I wanted to do. I wasn't a slave to somebody else. I wasn't just, right? So I want you to keep that in mind. You only live today. You don't live tomorrow. You don't live yesterday. You're only living in the now. And so it's important to have one happy day at a time. One happy day at a time. One happy day at a time. Turns into 1 week, turns into 1 year, turns into a happy life. That's the real formula to living a happy life, right? So remember that. It's about being happy today. And I just thought that was really cool. So something else that I took away, and so for those of you listening, I explained to you a couple episodes ago, what happens is between these episodes is I watch things, I see things, I read things, I have late night thoughts and I can't go to sleep, and I write down these random thoughts throughout, recording times. And so that way I have things to talk to you guys about that I think are very interesting and impactful. Some episodes are much more impactful than others, but something else that I thought, I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and he was talking about, like, if you take an example, like public speaking, anytime you go do a sport, you step out on the wrestling mat, right? And you have this emotion, this gut feeling, this nervousness, nervousness is the easiest one to explain. Everybody's had that ball in their stomach, nervous to public speak, nervous to, again, stand up at the wedding and tell everybody your best man speech, again, going on the wrestling mat and that fear of maybe failure or, whatever, right? Like everybody has had some of those feelings. And something interesting to think about is you're not the only person that has that feeling. So when you are nervous to do something, when you are uneasy to do something, when you're having these emotions, for example, like a boxing match, right? Fighter A and fighter B both have their own emotions, and they're obviously not, they're concerned about going out there and letting other people down. They're concerned about maybe that other person might get the best of them, even though when they're talking to the media, they want to be the absolute best. They're going to beat the shit out of the other person, right? Like that's their demeanor. They don't have a choice but to say that and speak that into existence. That doesn't mean in the back of their head, late at night, they're not thinking about every possible opportunity of this fight or possible outcome, or if this happens, then this could happen, right? They're thinking through this, and they might have concerns. I'm not saying every fighter thinks they're ever going to lose, but let's just say fighter A and fighter. Oftentimes, those people have the same thoughts, the same emotions. So if you're nervous to go on stage, so is the best speaker in the world that goes up on stage. They've just done it more times than you. They know how to deal with that emotion a little bit better than you. We've all been there. We've all had the same emotion. So we need to realize, like, even when it comes to me, like creating this kind of content, when I first started, when I record myself on Snapchat, when I post things on Facebook or Instagram, when I first started, there was much more of a level of nervousness than there is now. I still question myself. I still don't love the stuff that I produce, but it's something I'm working through, right? So it's important to realize that whatever emotion or thought that you're going through, other people have thought the exact same thing. And it's not like uncommon for you to have that thought or emotion. We're all human. We all have the same general, DNA, right? Like we're all like the same people to a certain level, to a certain extent. So just keep that in mind. I wrote down here, if you are scared, so is the other person. Everybody has that same emotion. So something to think about there. So some things that I want to wrap up with before we get back to emotion over logic. There's not a whole lot more I want to talk about in there, but I just want to wrap up with that thought. Regarding the IRS call, regarding the insurance, regarding taxes in general, a lot of these things we dread. We hate doing, we hate thinking about, we push off to the last minute, we procrastinate, right? And something I thought about today, actually, right before the podcast, is finding joy in the things you don't want to do. These things often bring you the most happiness after it's all said and done. So what that means is, it's pretty straightforward, but the things that we push off the most are the things that should be the first on our to-do list. We often find a lot of happiness and like we feel accomplished after we achieve or complete these tasks. And, I did the IRS thing today, and the insurance thing's been kind of an ongoing thing. So that's kind of why I had this thought. But realize once you do those hard things, and I tell you guys about the hard things all the time, oftentimes it's when you feel the best, once you complete the hard things. So I always talk to you guys about doing the cold shower, doing the sauna, or the, hot therapy versus cold therapy, the going for the run. The IRS and the taxes and these other day-to-day tasks that we also push off are the hard things. And if you can embrace the hard things and say, you know what, tomorrow I am going to do my taxes first thing because I know I'm going to fucking hate it. But once I'm done with it, I'm going to feel so good. Like, again, I tell you guys, if there was one thing you could accomplish today and it would make you feel that much better, it would get you that much further ahead, you would sleep that much better at night, do that one thing. Like, that's the one most important thing. Get it off your head sooner than later. If it takes you a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 5 months, whatever, to continually push this off and keep thinking about it, it's living in your head like the rent-free, right? It is taking up space in your mind that you don't need it to. And so getting it out of your mind as soon as possible, I think, is the most important thing. And I think that's why I like to work out in the morning. I think that's why I like to accomplish things in the morning. My most productive time is when I wake up, I take my morning pills, I brush my teeth, I make my bed, I go to the gym, or maybe I walk, whatever I do. I hit the sauna, I do my cold shower. I get the most work done in the morning before I've even eaten breakfast that I've accomplished so much by like 10 a.m., 11 a.m. It's debatably equivalent to what others can do in an entire day because I'm so focused and so locked in. And because I focused on myself first before those couple hours of work, I already have a boost in like productivity because I've won the day. No matter what happens in the office, I'm already way better off than I would have been because I got my workout in, I've gotten some steps in, I've gotten my recovery in, right? Like, so embrace the suck, embrace the hard things, focus on what you need to focus on, and don't let those hard things last take up mind space of yours forever. They will affect your sleep. They will affect your recovery. They will affect your workout. They will affect your day-to-day work life. They will affect your personal life. Whatever that hard thing is that you keep thinking about and keep debating, I need you guys to just do it. Write it down, accomplish it, lock yourself in a room, turn your phone off, whatever it is. Most of those hard things aren't as hard as we think they are. We just dread doing them. And I tell you, I promise you, once you've accomplished that task, and I don't think all of us have realized that, but once you actually think about this and let this sink in, once we accomplish that hard thing, like your day is made. And so if you do that hard thing right away in the morning, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, like today is the best day ever, right? So for me, the IRS was like one of the first things I did this morning. I got in the office. I said, you know what? I got to get a couple things done, and then I'm going to go home and eat, come back, finish in the office. And I was like, you know what? I might as well start calling the IRS. Called the IRS, sat on hold for an hour and a half, and managed to get like almost all of my other office tasks done while sitting on hold. And then I found more tasks that I could do while sitting on hold. And then, you know what? I already won by doing all that shit. Then I get $3,000, waived by the IRS. So I'm like, oh my gosh, today's a fantastic day. Then I went and ate amazing ribeye and some eggs, and I had an amazing lunch, and like everything else was amazing. The ribeye could have still sucked, and it would have probably been amazing because of the fact that I've already won the morning. I got a great lift in, right? Like, so all of these things, again, compound. They change our mindset and they shift these things. So just want you guys to think about that. Now, where I'm going to finish off here, sorry, I got on a little rant there. So where I'm going to finish off, the last point I want to make is the emotion over logic mindset. I really do think this sets mediocre people apart from, I don't know, great, amazing, whatever the term is that you want to use. I think people get in their own way a lot. And when people say that people get in their own way, I think emotion has a lot to do with it. So I'm sure everybody knows somebody who says they can't get out of their own way. They cause their own problems. That person that you're always around that, just brings you down, or for some reason they always have problems, right? I've had those friends in the past where no matter what you do, there's a problem on the day. There's a vehicle issue. There's a house issue. There's some kind of an issue. And I don't know if you guys know this, but that's more of the individual. That's more of like the person. That's who they are. And it's hard to break that. It's not you. It's really not the situations. It's really who the individual is. So I want you guys to think about emotion over logic. Think about, and I continue talking about this because I think it's the more I've learned and the more I don't want to say studied, but the more I've studied and I'm starting to understand more that emotion versus logic might be one of the most important things in life and business, in your personal life. I think once you master or work on, I don't know if you ever master it, but continue to work on emotion over logic. And I'm not saying I want you to be logic like a robot, but I am saying I want you to control your emotions. Like that's the goal. So there are times where emotion is needed. I'm not saying in a personal relationship you need to be like a robot and have no emotion for one another, but there is times where you need to have logic and you need to not make emotional decisions, and you need to make, and sometimes having logic is understanding where the other person's coming from, where the other emotions are, and what it takes to, again, in a personal relationship, in a business partnership, right? There's times where you take and you give, and you have to understand where the other person's coming from. And so sometimes the logic is understanding that person's emotion and kind of matching or coming down to that level of what needs to be said and talked about, right, to match that emotion. So it's not about being right. It's about coming to an agreement and understanding one another, and both of you walking away happy. So just think about emotion and logic. If you can consciously think about emotion and logic day to day, week to week, you only live one day at a time. So each and every day, when that person sends you that text that pisses you off, read it, start typing out your text, delete it. I found that I do this way more than I actually even really realized. There's times all the time where I have staff text me. Some of my best staff. Could be Kyle or Nolan. Could be Ellie. Could be my brother. Any of my main staff. Gavino, right? Like these are my top level people in my organization. They can irritate me, and I can send a nasty text. Oh, and I almost sent it. And I delete the thing, and I already feel better because I said what I needed to say, and I got rid of it. And I closed my phone for a little bit because I realized I was being emotional and not logic. And I kind of come back full circle. Or sometimes I sit on it, and then I call them because we get wrapped up in text way too damn much. We don't know what we're saying. We don't know how it's perceived. Nobody knows what the emotions are behind a text message, right? But it's pretty damn easy to assume the worst behind the text message. It's pretty damn easy for me to assume that person has some attitude and they're bitching at me, not that they're actually just sending me a basic-ass text, right? So that's one of the big issues, too, with emotion over logic is text messaging. I encourage my team to pick up the phone and call each other as much as possible, especially if you get a questionable text. Just call the other person and have a conversation. That helps a lot. I know I'm sure your parents, your siblings, again, your spouse, business partners, employees, coworkers, managers, like we all have poor conversations with one another, or what seems to be a poor conversation. It's important to separate the emotion and the logic. I do say sleep on it. If you get a late night text, do not respond if you aren't in the right headspace too. I've had to deal with employees like quitting without me, really understanding why or expecting that, right? Or I've had to deal with some fucked up situations in the business, kind of like the insurance and the trailer. There's been worse situations than that, right? And sometimes the best thing to do is, like I said, go for a walk, walk around the block. I like to call people that I'm close with, maybe my mom or my dad, sometimes my brother, Kyle, Nolan, Gavino, Ellie, again, all of these people who are important in my organization. I will call any of them and all of them, and I'll just vent a little bit because I need to. Even though I'm the leader and I don't want them to see me as, I don't know the right term, but I will call those individuals and I'll get the stuff off my chest and tell them how I feel from each angle and to get their feedback. And I also want to know how they feel about it, because if the situation, makes them feel a certain kind of way and we're on the same page, then at least I can validate my emotions and I can understand that I'm coming from the right spot, but I just need to sleep on it. So again, do with this as you please. Emotion versus logic, I think, is one of the most underrated, one of the most important, one of the most not talked about things that, nobody's ever really taught me emotion over logic. I started reading some of these books. I started realizing in my day-to-day life, and I think it really separates people. It really separates me in the business world, dealing with other individuals. Being 27 and in business, I deal with a lot of elders and grown-ups, in quotations, right? And oftentimes I feel like I'm dealing with more grown-up babies than I am actual adults. And when I look at adults, I look at as mature and, again, logic over emotion. But oftentimes I'm seeing a lot of emotion over logic, and I don't operate in business that way. I very rarely let emotion get the best of me. I make the best decisions that I can on the fly, and the best decisions I feel like for the team and for me as an individual, right? So emotion versus logic, I think, can really help take you to the next level. And whatever you're doing, again, personal relationships, your spouse, your siblings, your children, keep this in mind. Maybe read on emotion versus logic. I think if you read some of the books that I've mentioned in the past, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, the confidence book that I had just finished. If you have any questions or thoughts, or if you want to read any of those books and you're wondering what the names of them are again, shoot me a text, shoot me an email, message on Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is. I'll send you those. If you do read those, or if you have read those and you're listening, I'd love for you to send me your feedback on them and tell me any of your major takeaways, because I enjoy those conversations as well. But anyways, I'm going to wrap up episode 83 here. I appreciate you guys so much, and I will see you on the next one. Have a good one.